Hey everyone, my name is Sifu Chang and I turn children into successful adults. Tonight, I am interviewing Chris Visaya, one of Wushu Central's success stories. Before we start that, please let me know where you are tuning in from. I want to tell you a little bit about Chris. Chris Visaya studied at Wushu Central Martial Arts Academy and became one of our instructors and earned his black belt. After a few years here, he went on to work at Splunk and he rose to become a senior manager there. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Chris Visaya. Welcome in. He's coming in on the stream here. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Sifu, how's it going?
Doing fantastic. Hey, Chris, you had a question. I'm going to start off here. How did you first get started at Wushu Central Martial Arts Academy? Can you tell everybody?
I can. Can I say one thing before? I meant to say this earlier.
Yeah.
I noticed on your website, on the Facebook post, you said I catapulted to Splunk. I would say it's more like parting the wild horse's mane, because as one hand moved forward, a part of me stayed with Wushu Central. So I'm so glad and grateful that you called me in to have this talk. So
that is so touching and corny, but I love it.
Oh yeah, it is corny, but here's another one. Happy birthday. I've realized in the years that I've known you, I've never said happy birthday to you. So I know I'm a few weeks late, but
well, thank you. Thank you. Why?
So,
yeah,
okay,
was it? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to get to your question now. This is the most sad answer I'm going to give, and that is I was in my mid-20s. I was in a very painful spot in my life. I was not good to myself. I was not good to other people. And as I was trying to come out of that bad place in life, I realized that I needed to do good for myself, as well as do good to others. So one thing I did is I started volunteering at the Santa Clara Library to help adult literacy. That was very fun, helping others. And for myself, I walked into your studio because I wanted to do good for me. And spoiler alert, I thought it did fantastic for me.
That is so awesome. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I remember that was one of the things that you were, teaching people to read was one of the, was a big thing.
Yeah.
With part of your life. And then you started volunteering for some of the events that we did here, just to help out. And I remember, that was where I first got the idea that I would love to have you as an instructor, because you were so amazing with the kids at the Halloween event. I was like, this guy's so good with kids, man, he'd be a great instructor. So that's super cool.
Thank you. I did have a lot of fun at the Halloween events. The kids are amazing. They're so much fun to hang out with. And I can see cats on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So, Liz says, hi, Chris. And Lucia, guys, those of you listening, you can totally feel the love here. How much everybody really, really loved Coach Chris there. Hey, Chris, do you remember? do you remember what you found the most challenging in Wushu?
I have three things I'd like to say. The first is very much related to the last answer, and that's walking into the studio. The first step is very, very hard, right? If you're an unhealthy person, so if you're a little overweight or if you're scrawny, like I've always been scrawny, if you go into a gym or a facility where everyone is exercising, that's intimidating. You don't have inertia. You have to create that inertia with your first step. So that first step was definitely hard, but it was also incredibly rewarding. So I do want to make that very clear. I have two more fun ones that I thought was very challenging, if you're all right with that.
Yeah.
The first is there's a very distinct memory I have where it was just me and Corinne, or Coach Corinne, but this was before either one of us were coaches. And we were both orange belts, and we were in the Coach Matt class. It was just the two of us, and we didn't really know each other, me and Corinne. And Matt was just working us. And I just remember it was a lot of drills, a lot of conditioning. And it was probably the hardest class. It was definitely the hardest class I ever took up to that point in my life. But at the end of that 45 minutes or so, it was incredible. I felt like, okay, this is where I belong. This is awesome. So it's another satisfying story of, persevering through some challenging times. And then the last challenging thing I do want to say is I've perpetually been inflexible. And I came in as a white belt, and Sifu Liz, if you're watching, I don't remember, you were pushing me once and you were saying, just relax, Chris. And I was thinking, I am relaxing. I just suck at this. And then, I eventually was able to reach my toes after a few years. I could do a front stretch kick as high as my face at one point. That was awesome. But I'm, as I was telling you a little earlier, I can't kick as high as my waist now. So the lesson there is yeah, it was challenging, and I climbed the mountain, but I didn't work to stay at the top of the mountain there. So I've regressed there. So please keep, practicing things you want to stay good at.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's never too late. It's never too late to come back.
Thanks.
Awesome. So, not only did you earn your black belt eventually here, despite starting off a super inflexible man, but you became one of Wushu Central's most beloved instructors here. It's very clear that everybody loved you. So how did that happen? Tell me the story.
That's an incredibly flattering way of asking that question. And I genuinely mean this, that I feel like I know that I was only as good as the environment allowed me to be. So, and that the coaches played a huge part in that. So, just to rattle off names, Coach Matt, Coach Tan, Coach Larry, Coach Mike, all of them. And I know I'm going to forget all of them. Coach Don, Coach Jasmine, Coach Veronica. The list goes on. Coach Q even. And of course, Sifu Terry, Sifu Liz, and you, Sifu. Like, I was only as good because I learned a lot from everyone around me, and I found joy in what I did. I had fun with the kids, so maybe that's why the kids love me. And I like talking to the parents too. I think I had a lot of unbridled positive energy that I wasn't properly dispelling or using in my personal life. So just being at the studio and getting to, shine that radiant light of positivity on other people, that was a lot of fun for me. So maybe that's why, you use the word beloved there.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. So what do you feel are like the most important skills that you developed while you were working here as an instructor?
Empathy is by far the most important trait that I learned. And I actually learned this, so I don't know if you recall, but you had me do some anti-bullying research and writing that we eventually took to workshops with schools. And that was, you ask anybody here, what's bullying? And anyone would have an answer. And I thought I had an answer too prior to, working with you. But then after the research you put me through, I think one missing ingredient in my definition was time. If I, as a kid, walked up to you and said, I don't like your hair, one time, am I a bully? I don't know. It could be indicative that maybe I am a bully. But on the other hand, maybe that was just one time of me saying something wrong, right? Which could be correctable. So if that got corrected, yeah, I said something that was mean, but I can still get on a path to not be a bully. But if I tell you every day that I see you, I don't like your hair, Sifu, then yeah, that's that's the behavior of a bully. So I think that was huge. Having empathy and recognizing that throughout time, you have to keep correcting things that you identify as a problem to help people grow. I think that's huge. Did you want to say something, or can I keep going?
No, keep going. No, I love hearing your voice. You're doing
okay. Good. See, that's all I wanted to hear. Just to hear you say that you love hearing my voice. So we're doing good so far. So yeah, empathy was a huge one. You also taught me a really, really important one, where it was amazing students. So you could take a perfectly physical Wushu specimen, a great martial artist, and they are going to be amazing with or without me, with or without a coach. The coach can still help them get to the next level, but they're going to be amazing. The real feel-good moment for a teacher is when you take a student who's, let's say, not naturally apt at being good at Wushu, or does have trouble focusing, or does have trouble persevering, or having, showing good teamwork. If you take that person and help them start, building up those attributes and characteristics and behaviors that would take them to, be better, that's the true satisfying quest of a teacher. And, at Wushu Central, I found that a lot. I mean, just to, using very broad terms, there were, good students and not so good students. And yeah, we all love the good students, but it was incredibly satisfying and rewarding to take the not so good students and make them gooder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very fulfilling feeling as a teacher.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel you there as well. And I love those, because those make the most, those are the real success stories, right? I mean, they're the ones who, started off with all the cards stacked against them, and we made them succeed. And that's what's really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. So, you had a great stint as an instructor here and everybody loved you. At one point, eventually, of course, you eventually left Wushu Central to work at Splunk, and you're now the Senior Manager of Educational Delivery, which is amazing. And it's a super long title that I don't think anybody understands. So what exactly does your job entail?
After I left Wushu Central, I went to go teach enterprise software at Splunk. And so it was almost like teaching Wushu, except not as fun. See that? I just said teaching Wushu is way more fun. No, but
it is, guys. Hear it. Those of you who want to work here, this is a fun job. It's awesome.
It was great. I loved it, man. I loved it, Sifu. But it was, so eventually after teaching, I did well enough that they thought, hey, they should promote me into a manager. So I did. And which means I manage a team of instructors who taught Splunk globally. And it was cool. I had reports who were in Germany, France, Canada, London. It was actually really neat. And then, I've just grown into the senior manager position, man. Mm-hmm. And that to me is also really rewarding because I think all of my direct reports are like little meatballs. And, just like there's no one size fits all, I could recognize one meatball is really good at, let's say, security, and another one's really good at IT operations. And it's just taking those meatballs and putting them in the right ovens to grow them to be really, really good at what they do. So in continuation of taking students and elevating them to, get their black belts, as rewarding as that felt, taking these meatballs and cooking them into delicious meatballs is also rewarding. But the analogy of the really people, I probably screwed that up, but it sounded good in my head.
That was the most interesting analogy I've ever heard. I'm just gonna let the people who work for you know that you call them a meatball.
Yes, but they're good meatballs.
So can you speak to how your experience at Wushu Central helped you be more effective in your current position?
Yes, thank you for asking this one. There's another very tangible event that happened in my time at Wushu Central. I was sitting at the desk. I was on the phone, and I don't remember who I was talking to. It was either a parent or a student. And I think the phrase I used was something along the lines of, oh, okay, that doesn't sound terrible. And then, goodbye, and then I hung up. And then Sifu Liz, if you're still there, she turned to me and she said something along the lines of, don't use negative words to express a positive sentiment. Use positive words. And I realized, oh yeah, I shouldn't have said that doesn't sound terrible. I should have said that sounds good, right? And so that is something that I'm still working on today. And I think back to that time where Sifu is just, it was very obvious to her, don't use negative words to describe a positive sentiment. And I'm finding, as I'm trying to be cognizant of the words I use, as I catch myself saying, hey, this isn't bad. It's okay to say this is good.
Right.
This pasta doesn't taste like vomit. This pasta tastes good. They might mean the same thing in my head, but it's the positive words that for everyone around.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
that's so funny. There's a really good idea and theory of people putting natural upper limits on themselves, and just kind of like in their mind, they grow up with a feeling like they can't be. They don't deserve to arise to a certain level to be more successful or more happy, throughout whatever, just because maybe whatever trauma happened or thing happened in the past. And the idea is psychologically sometimes we'll use terminology or phrasing that kind of lowers that. Almost like if someone says, oh, they give you a compliment, right? And sometimes, people will naturally kind of turn it around and say they'll say something negative about themselves in response in order to try to deflect the compliment as opposed to saying, oh, well, thank you. That's really nice of you to say that. I've really worked hard for that. I mean? It's kind of where people, sometimes they don't want to accept the elevation. And so they'll do something purposely to kind of push it down. And I wonder if that's almost, tied to that type of, just habit of, using negative words to express positive sentiments. That's interesting.
It could very well be. I mean, do you see, I'm not asking you to name any names, but do you see that in some of the people that you interact with where you generally something positive? Yeah.
Oh, sure. All the time. Yeah. And it's really interesting, I think, in Chinese culture too. And this is probably not just Chinese culture, but I think, definitely in Chinese culture where I grew up, it was, very much it was the proper thing to do to deflect the compliment towards yourself and not accept it, wholeheartedly. And so I personally, in my personal opinion, it's almost kind of a damaging cultural aspect.
Yeah, I believe that. And a lot of that is probably just, the tiger mom or the tiger dad, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Why
so.
is this,
I think so.
That A minus, what's the minus doing there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to try your best. You need to study harder.
Yeah, that's. I will say to that point that I also, I like to pretend that I'm a creative person and I like to find different ways to say things. But I found that people who just genuinely take a compliment with a thank you, that just looks the cleanest and it feels the most complete. There's no deflection, the person's taking the compliment. And so, I hope more people can do that. It is tricky for me, and I've seen other people do that a lot too. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, it feels better too for the person who's giving the compliment, right? If I say, hey, Chris, I really like your hair today, right? And if you just, if you deflect it, then, I'm kind of like, okay. But if you really accept it, and you thank me for the compliment, then it's like, okay, like I feel good and you feel good and everyone feels good. So, so those of you watching, a little bit of a life lesson there. When someone gives you a compliment, accept it wholeheartedly in the grace that it was given to you, and just thank them for it. It's the right way to take a compliment. So let's hear some wisdom from Chris. Chris, what advice would you give to people wanting to reach a managerial position in their career?
Are we running low on time?
No. You can go as long as you want. We'll be here, guys. We're going to be here for the next 12 hours. So just put on your seatbelts and let's get ready for this.
Because I had one more from the last question that I wanted to answer about, how Wushu has helped me in my career. So I gave Sifu Liz a great example of how she's positively affected my life. I wanted to be able to say something that you said that was really positive. And that is, you taught me to correct behavior, praise the good behavior. So if, Johnny can't stand on his spot, but Jimmy can, praise Jimmy. And then Johnny right away wants to receive that praise. And for grown-ups, that still works on grown-ups. It's pretty funny. So, yeah, I just wanted to share. I've
amazing.
A lot of mileage out of that with my grown-ups that I work with.
Yeah. The psychology is the same. Yeah. And you're right. We always think of, hey, we're teaching children, we're teaching them a certain way, and this is particular for children. No, it's universal, right? The way the tricks you use when you're teaching a 4-year-old are pretty much exactly the same tricks you use when you're teaching a 40-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'll say it. Sometimes 40-year-olds are like little heroes. That's
Not naming any particular 40-year-olds that you might be thinking of right now.
No, just me. I'm 40-something, so yeah, I'm the only one that I'm pointing fingers at. But who knows? Maybe other 40-year-olds are like that.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's thinking of somebody right now like, yeah, I know this 40-year-old. They act like a little toddler. Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell us some advice. Right? What if someone, someone wants to rise up in their company? They want to, they want to elevate. What do they need to know?
I think the first thing, and this is really for any job, is to find joy in what you do. Because if you find joy in what you do, I think you'll be better at it. So I can, just to pick on Coach Tan, I could tell when Coach Tan was having a good day, his classes were, a lot better. And naturally, when he's, when anyone's not at their best, their product or their delivery is not going to be their best. It happens to all of us. So if you can find the joy in what you do, that instantly elevates your performance in that one, micro moment, or throughout the day, or throughout the week, or throughout the whatever period of time you're looking for. The second thing I wanted to say about this is, anyone can do my job. And I'm not insulting me, but I'm saying that all it took to get where I'm at is be a good independent contributor. And then when I made the shift from independent contributor to management, it was just a matter of understanding, okay, as an IC, an independent contributor, something just banged outside, and I'm home alone, so hopefully my house isn't falling apart. I think it's okay. I guess I got promoted because I did well. And when you get to the manager level, it's super important to understand that you're not the rock star anymore. You want to take your team and you want to elevate them. And this actually ties back to something I remember from you, Sifu, is that a long, long time ago, I think when I finally got to my red belt, I made a remark like, "Oh, I'm so excited to get in, a Sifu David Chang class." And you took the compliment because, we're gracious back then. It's like you knew this interview would happen and you wanted to impress me all those years ago.
It was all planned out, 10 years ago.
It was. But then you came back and you talked to me privately and you stated, and this is when I was working there, that you wanted that feeling that I had about taking class with you. You wanted me to have that feeling when I was in a Coach Matt class, or a coach, any of the other coaches' classes. So you wanted the elevation of your team to, spill onto the classes that they taught. And that is very much true. Is, when you get into management, when you're leading people, you have to have that drive because that's how you hit your goals, your objectives, is when your team. Am I rambling?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think you're great. And I think this is so true, and this really speaks to, when you become a manager, when you have a team under you, it's not about you anymore. It's about the success of a team, right? And the success of the team means that each of the players that are part of that team are performing, as great as they possibly can. And then sometimes that means knowing what their particular strengths and what their particular weaknesses are, and learning to utilize them to the best of their ability.
Yeah, I completely agree. See, I'm still learning from you to this day. There's
Thank you.
Thing that I thought I wanted to say. Let me see if I can try and remember this. That's okay. If it comes back to me, I'll remember it. I was trying to think of a good words of wisdom. Oh, may I say this last thing about words of wisdom? I took a management training class recently, and they were emphasizing the difference of right versus effective. So I've dealt with a lot of really intelligent, really smart people who oftentimes were right, but the manner in which they carried themselves or communicated it was very ineffective. And so it was just, you want to train them to find out why they're ineffective and eventually get to that point where there is a confluence of those two things. So they can be right and effective at the same time. And I thought, wow, that is kind of mind-blowing. But you also gave me that lesson in different words a long, long time ago. And the lesson was around, you could take the best martial artist at your studio and they wouldn't necessarily be the best coach. And your lesson there was, I think that was a nice way of saying, I'm not the best martial artist you've ever had. And my feelings are not hurt, but I could still be a great coach. And that was, in a way, kind of inspiring. So that's all. I just wanted to tie that last one together.
That was awesome. Well, awesome. Cool. Well, if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about you, where can they find you?
Oh, so I think hello@chrisvisaya.com is an email address. Should I say that, or I just said it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, as long as you don't mind. You may have a lot of hidden admirers right now, and they might start reaching out to you.
I would love
now that they've seen your handsome mug.
Yeah, I tried so hard. This is like at least an hour's worth of effort. I shouldn't have said that, but hey, now you all know. They say an hour.
Oh, I'm flattered that you're impressing me. You've got your hair and makeup team back there, and of course you've got you're viewable on Splunk's YouTube channel, correct?
Oh yeah, that's right. I am. So when I did train before I was a manager, I did a lot of their YouTube training videos, both the free ones on YouTube and the paid ones, because honestly, I'm worth it. You got to believe in yourself too, everyone. That's the other key.
There you go. That's right.
Yeah. So you know what? I don't have the channel handy.
That's okay. I'm going to throw it up on the screen right now.
Okay, great.
I had it ready for you. So anyways, this is where you can contact Chris, and this is where his YouTube channel, in case you are, after this, you're just like, man, I just wish I could see more of Chris's face. That's where you can see a lot of Chris's face. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
Well, so everybody, if you guys have any questions for me or Coach Chris, please feel welcome to drop it in the comments, and just even after the live, we'll be happy to go on in and answer any questions you might have. I hope you guys really enjoyed this show. Everybody, please like and share this show, and appreciate all the support, and I hope that you guys learned something valuable from this. And once again, I want to thank the wonderful Coach Chris for joining us today. We do miss him very, very dearly, and hopefully once the pandemic has cleared up, he'll be able to come by and hang out with us again for a little bit, if for fun or anything else, or maybe he can come back to Monster Hunt and be a Koopa Troopa one more time.
I would love that. I absolutely would love that.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us today, Chris.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Sifu. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Take care.